Before you sell something, you have to set a price. Sometimes, that's not so easy.
I have chickens, I have cats, I have dogs, I have a miniature donkey, I have some ponies and some horses. My neighbors have goats and cattle. It's a rural community. That's why we moved here, so that we could have our animals and we could enjoy them.
I meet lots of people from out of town because of my business. And, they talk about how charming and how unique, how quaint this town is. And, that's again why I'm very much in favor of preserving these old buildings, because once they're gone, the quaintness goes with it.
I'm fifth generation family. 1862 this was homesteaded. Yeah.
Our sons love this place, and I don't think they'd ever do anything to give that up.
It's beautiful here. I can't picture myself anywhere else. I still wake up in the morning just amazed on how beautiful it is here.
My hometown is on the Mississippi, just across the river from Wisconsin. Until last year, no one ever talked about mining here. And if you'd said the sand in our hills was worth a fortune, most people would have said, "You're crazy." My wake-up call came from my brother John, who lives just outside town. A farm south of his place had been quietly sold for $2.6 million, about 3 times what it was worth. The buyer was an oil company. Geology isn't my strong suit, but John has a degree in it. He confirmed what I thought. There's no oil in Goodhue County. We didn't know it yet, but our county was on the brink of a gold rush for sand. Frack sand.
The way in which these silica industrial mines come in, they know from the get-go how controversial it is, which is why they do the secrecy and the gag orders.
I felt like we were just kind of backdoored. I mean, hey, there's a mine going across the street from the house. Okay, well, what happened? They just bought this land overnight. I mean, it was a done deal, like I said, before we ever knew about it, and so we did feel a little bit slighted by that.
It was so shocking, and it happened so suddenly that people didn't even really know what to think.
When people in Goodhue County found out that the oil company was planning to build a frack sand mine, there were a lot of questions and meetings. At one of these, I met a geologist who had a background in frack sand mining. He explained a few basic points.
I would definitely call this a mining boom. The closest thing that can rival this was back in the late 70s when uranium was almost a boom. Not quite this size. In this area, your sand mining is going to be on the bluffs. So what you are going to see is a zone of material that have been removed, the overburdens and the topsoils, etc. They've been removed to expose the sand, and they'll probably take a 40 to 50 foot layer of sand out. It'll be a hole in the ground. An open pit mine doesn't necessarily look very attractive.
A neighbor told us he'd seen a crew working on the oil company property. I took a hike over there to have a look. And in the field, I found a pipe and a few sandstone core samples. We have sandstone all over our county, but I wasn't sure what the valuable kind looked like. So, my brother offered to show me. We drove down Highway 58, about a mile past the oil company property, to a cliff by the roadside.
Watch your step.
The cliff was white Jordan sandstone, about 500 million years old. They make glass out of it, and it's in toothpaste. Regular sand is full of all sorts of things, but this is pure silica. Smooth, round, and extremely hard. The oil industry mixes frac sand with chemicals and water and pumps it into wells under high pressure. The pressure cracks the shale, and frac sand props the cracks open, so oil and gas can flow out. Hydraulic fracturing, fracking, is the hot new technology in the energy business, and demand for frac sand has gone through the roof. An open-pit industrial sand mine seemed like a bad thing for Goodhue County, but I'd never seen one. At that point, there were only 2 of these mines in Minnesota. I had to see what we were dealing with, so I took a short road trip to see the biggest one. You can't see much of the Uniman mine from the road. What I did see was disturbing. Minnesota was still asleep, but new mines were opening in Wisconsin at a rapid rate. I went there to find out more, to see what frac sand mining is and how it affects people like us.
I see the hills are gone. I see the hills are gone. They took away where we played. The hills are gone. The trucks go rumbling by. The tears are in my eyes. The wind roars, my lungs are sore, hills are gone. The miners cut them down. Houses shake, in town likes to frack. I can't relax, hills are gone.
Our county has roughly 40 gravel pits. These are just little spots where they take out sand and gravel. Usually they're near the river and it's for local use, and it's necessary. The sand mines that we're talking about now are actually quarries. They're taking sandstone hills, a completely different substance. Well, this is a 480-acre site, and they're going to mine 250 or 280, between 250 and 280 acres of this site. They're going to remove. It's hills that are going to be permanently removed.
I actually work at a non-metallic mining operation. There are 2,500 plus non-metallic mining operations in Wisconsin. However, when you go and look for operations that would be comparable to this influx of the frac sand mining, it's almost non-existent. They're oftentimes not operated by people in the mining industry. They are initiated by real estate investors. These are not the typical mining operations that Wisconsin is used to.
In 2 years, frac sand mines and processing plants in Wisconsin had increased tenfold. The media buzz was all about new jobs. From what I'd seen already, I thought there might be more to the story. Maybe the media wasn't really listening. Ask your opinion?
On what?
Making a documentary on frac sand mining. Just want to know what people think.
Let it rip. Sounds good to me. It produces a lot of jobs.
I think they better think about the people's land and their crops and the ground that's around and what they're wrecking, you know. That's just my personal opinion.
I've heard about it. Would I want it done on my property? No.
You know, all these mines, they're doing all this, and what really is it doing to our water? So,
I really and truly don't think that it should be done.
They can take it somewhere else.
Why?
I'm not interested in having it that close to home, ruining property values. We have animals. It's just not good. Everything I read and heard about it, it's hard on the environment and the ecology, everything. So, no, not for it at all.
When you think about a mine, you think about a hole in the ground. But something has to move all that sand. In most cases, that means trucks. Lots of trucks. One afternoon, I parked about a mile from a mine and watched sand trucks pass as I ate my lunch. 21 trucks passed in 40 minutes. On another day, I went further north to film activity at another mine. This crossroads, in the middle of farmland, had some of the heaviest truck traffic I'd ever seen.
When I first started driving a sand truck, I was riding shotgun with him. He was showing me the ropes, helping me get my CDL. And when I finally got my CDL, the company he was working for, the trucking company that he was working for, was hauling out of a mine, and the guy that was running the mine needed a driver. So he hired me, and he asked me where I was from. And I told him New Auburn, and he said that place is gonna be booming soon. And it is. There was nothing here. He got me into this. He put this whole idea into my head, you know. He crunched the numbers, we crunched the numbers, and I took it to the wife, and she thought, well, it's kind of a big gamble, you know. It's all our money. It's all our money.
So you were driving truck before you bought your truck?
Me? No. I was working in a factory right behind you.
How long were you out of work?
1 year. The economy tanked. The economy tanked. No work. Couldn't find work after I lost the job. And sand plants came to town, saw an opportunity, and I took it. Emptied my bank accounts, bought my own truck, working for myself now. We're a tight-knit community. We know just about everybody in town, you know. As far as neighbors fighting with neighbors, people say, oh, they're just jealous because the sand plant didn't want their property or whatever and whatnot. To be perfectly frank, I don't care. Your neighbor sold land to the sand company. It's their land. They can do with it what they want. You want to build a sun porch on your house? Go ahead. Nobody complained that you built a sun porch on your house, so stop complaining that there's a sand mine just down the road from your house. You know, it's their land. This is America. You can do with it what you want.
Not surprisingly, people who don't work for the mines see things differently.
I don't even have to set my alarm anymore because at 5:45 every morning, boom, the trucks are running. I can get up to 1,000 trucks a day on this road at one time. It's actually, I don't think they're up to full capacity now, but it's one every 15 seconds.
If dozens of 80,000-pound sand trucks seem out of place on a narrow county road, what happens when their route goes down the main street of a small tourist town?
We noticed, and it seemed like overnight, that there were trucks running constantly, semis running constantly, night and day. And then you begin to get calls from people, you know, what's going on? Why are we getting so many trucks? I can't sleep. I can't leave my windows open anymore. My business is being affected.
I can feel it. I live upstairs here, and I sit in my chair in the front room, which is the front of this building, and you feel a truck go by and you'll feel it, you're vibrating, you know. That's got to be working on this old building. I'm just worried that they're going to start shaking these old buildings apart.
I was the first one to find out where they came from, and I called Pattison Sand Company and found out that there's a sand mine in Clayton County, and they were running through McGregor.
The county is especially concerned because of the creation of new jobs, and I understand that, but we also have jobs here in this community that have been here for years. People have built businesses here around the tourism industry, and that has had an effect when you add trucks all night long, and you know, it's not safe to get across the street when they're running through full speed.
I talked to the county supervisors and I talked to the engineer, and they just kept coming.
So no effect?
No effect.
Nothing?
No, McGregor had to put the weight limit on Walton Street, and thank God for that.
To the north, in Buffalo County, Wisconsin, new frac sand mines will generate high-volume truck traffic. Despite what they've been told, neighbors can't believe this will be safe.
I went to a DOT meeting, safety meeting, a week ago. They had a representative there, and he said they identified 32 spots on Highway 88 that were like in the danger area because of the semis would cross the center line.
But according to one of the DOT representatives, this road can handle it.
Here's Highway 88 on a good day. The trucks are big and obvious, but people are just as concerned about dust. At a rail spur near Sue Vine's home, they've started loading frac sand.
And now we're getting accumulation of dust, especially in the windy months. One day I walked out here with the air conditioning going last summer in 2011, and I about slipped on the floor because it was just like a powdery on my kitchen floor coming through the air conditioning, I guess. Or if I had the window open at that time. And that, you know, you can just go like this and kind of see it. Things just felt gritty, even if you hung your clothes out. They just didn't smell right or feel right.
Near Tunnel City, Wisconsin, Unimin is building one of the biggest new frac sand mines. Families living nearby have been told that dust won't be a problem.
We are some of the newest people in the neighborhood. I have gotten to know my neighbors a little bit better through this, but then I've also seen a lot of for sale signs go up around the neighborhood. Like everybody just wants to take off and run. It's each man for himself, let's get out of here. Of course their houses are not selling, so they're still here, and you know, we talk about the feelings. Nobody wants a mine right across the street.
I know there are questions of how far this stuff will travel, but when you're living right next to it and right next to the railheads that are hauling it, it's obvious that some of this dust is going to get into people's homes.
This one.
You want that dress?
Yeah.
I just wish they would determine the safety of this stuff before they would put it across the street from a neighborhood that's full of children, or any neighborhood for that matter.
You can read it. You can go to OSHA, you can go to MSHA, you know, the Mine Safety Agency, and they clearly tell you what crystalline silica does, the effects that it has on people who breathe it in the workplace. They have controls that people have to take within these mines to make sure that these people do not get sick. Who's protecting the people that live right outside the mine?
There's about, I would say 7 or 8 kids from the neighborhood, the same age range as my kids, and they're always outside. They come in to eat pretty much and see who's going to give them a popsicle or something during the summer, but they live outside.
You know, they're there every day. They sleep there every night. It's in their home, you know. You know what dust is. You see dust. And it's in everybody's home. You know, when we're right next to these mining sites, we're afraid of that.
Is dust from a mine really dangerous? That depends on who you ask.
Everybody's subjected to dust all the time, especially when you live around an agricultural area like we do here. And if you travel any of your county roads that are not paved, you're exposed to dust. The amount of silica in those dusts is exactly the same as you're going to see on these properties.
I could tell he believed what he was saying. But when you're talking about health, a second opinion is always a good idea. I found one at the University of Wisconsin.
The argument that dust already exists in our agricultural communities makes a lot of sense. Silica is part of that dust. It's weathered though. It actually has seen rain and sun. It has actually had a time to kind of break down, become less dangerous. So that weathered silica is less dangerous, maybe 2 to 5 times less dangerous than the freshly fractured silica that has those chemically reactive bonds. The chemical reactivity, the size, and the shape of silica make it a particularly dangerous substance. It is regulated as a human carcinogen. It causes silicosis, it causes tuberculosis, causes problem with kidney disease. According to studies on silicosis, we can get a certain amount, maybe up to about 3 micrograms per cubic meter, and we have no ill health effects. But above that level, so if we have agricultural dust as well as dust coming from a sand plant, we may be above that threshold, and then we may begin to see the scarring and the progression of disease associated with silica exposure.
The most dangerous silica dust is too small to be seen.
We have evolved as species that have been exposed to volcanic eruptions and working in the soil and traveling, and dust has been a part of our growing up and our evolution. What's particularly of concern with crystalline silica is that it has reactive oxygen-silicon bonds between those two atoms, and when they are broken in what we call freshly fractured silica, like during a crushing operation or an explosion, they're very reactive, these oxygen radicals. So not only are they of the size, the ones we're concerned about, of a size to get down into the deep lung, but they have reactive surfaces and even jagged edges.
Under a microscope, silica dust looks lethal, like broken glass. Cancer, silicosis, kidney disease. I could see why mothers with small children were worried. But according to the frac sand industry, there's never enough dust to affect neighbors.
The mine over the hill, about 1.5 miles north of me, started in '09. I didn't notice anything too much. I mean, but there was a lot of dust blowing and people were saying something about it at our town meeting, the people that were affected on that side of the bluff. Then last year in 2011, they started 1/4 mile northwest of me. And that's when it started, the dust was blowing. About March, April, I noticed my soft palate was swollen. I was laying in bed and I heard this, what is that? Well, it was me. It was my breathing. Some days, all at once, I would be coughing a lot. I couldn't, and I never had any cold symptoms. And it would be just start coughing, and I had a tightness in my breath, in my chest, I should say. So I went out to my cousin's for a week in Pennsylvania, and all my symptoms went away. Came back a week later, and I wasn't even home a week, and the symptoms came back. And I went to my doctor, the pulmonary doctor, and he listened to my chest and looked at my throat and that, and he says, "You have asthma due to your environment." The idea of wearing a face mask outside and that just really upsets me. But I guess I'm going to have to.
Frack sand has to be cleaned and graded. Then it's loaded onto rail cars. Most people wouldn't want to live next door.
We got the blue skies, we got the green grass, we got the purest water flowing anywhere. We got the countryside, we got the rolling hills. But you better watch out, 'cause the sand mines could be there. So just say no, silica sand plant, no how, no way, no. Silica sand plant, we are here to say we just want no silica sand plant messing up our town. So keep that sand plant away from here, we don't want it coming around.
Oh, this is the most beautiful spot in the whole world. You know, it is. We looked high and low. The reason we settled on this piece of property was because of the layout of the land and because of the zoning. It was the right amount of land. It was the right space in the house. There's the right mix of woods. We've got the creek, we've got the pasture, we've got everything that we could grow our business with and hunt with and fish with and do all that. We can do everything right here.
When your quiet neighborhood is zoned for agriculture, it's a shock to find out that a sand company wants to load rail cars across the road from your house.
When I first found out about this transload facility, there was a notice in the paper that there was a special meeting at the town hall. And I had heard some scuttlebutt about sand mining, not much about it, so I went. This is when I found out that Vista Sands had already purchased this land and that they were asking for a rezone from commercial or from residential ag to industrial. The proposed transload facility will be a 198-acre facility that the trains will come off of the track pretty much in front of the property, go into this transload facility, go up to a conveyor that will have a 40-foot pile of sand there and then the conveyor will dump into the rail cars and fill them. And as each one gets full, it'll move forward. What that loading of those trains will do is it will cause noise, dust, and lights 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
This huge site near Tunnel City, Wisconsin, will have mining, processing, and loading in one location. Jamie Greger lives next door.
Uniman has fully told us that they will be mining 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's no secret. They plan to do 24-hour operations with lights, obviously, stadium-type lights that so they can see what they're doing, and it will go on day and night, 7 days a week.
In rural areas, rapid industrial growth has taken many people by surprise.
We went from being rural lifestyle with our chickens and our dogs and our horses, and now we are in the middle of an industrial park.
We're surrounded in this, what is it, a 4-mile square? Because we have 2 plants to the east of us. We have a mine pit to the south. We have another mine pit here to the south, and then we have another plant to the west, and then we have the trucks, and then we have the rail spur, and now the conveyors are coming.
Chieftain's dry plant and Great Northern's wet and dry plant are both sitting on sand that is sitting on peat. Just trucks driving by vibrate things. When we were kids, we were swimming in the beaver pond to get the cows home for milk. When those trains were going by, we could see the ripples on the water 2.5 miles away.
Blasting is common at frac sand mines.
I was taking a nap, trying to the other day, because I don't sleep very much at night because of the droning and the vibrating in your chest and in your ears. It's difficult to sleep even with earplugs, because it goes right through. So I was trying to take a nap, and all of a sudden it felt like somebody was literally pounding their fist on my front door. bang, 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 bang. And I jumped up, in my bedroom and looked around. There's nothing around, so I assumed that was again. And it was at that time between 1 and 4.
For some people, money's not the point. Everywhere I went, I heard stories about aggressive tactics and shady deals.
Having my property gave them 50 more acres for their rail spurs, processing plants, and everything else. And so I knew, in all fairness to myself, I knew they were trying to manipulate me.
We all said flat out no. Then Vista came by with an offer. They offered one guy $20,000. He signed it and took it. He doesn't live there. Offered another, I think 30, offered me closer to 40. This money was supposed to be cash, tax-free money so that we would support and promote Vista Sands and the rezone of this at a government level.
One of the ways I think these companies have snuck in is they put these gag orders in the agreements. I refused to sign the gag order, and that became a period of contention for maybe a week or so.
In the long and the short of it, what that money would have done is nothing. Because if we decide to move, if this zoning goes through and we can't tolerate it and we need to move, we're not going to get the money out of this house. We will get less for this house than what we owe on it. We will walk away in debt with no property. All the work we've put in, gone.
They continued to call and send consultants up the driveway, and when they would say there's no value to the property for us, I would say, well, okay then, there is for me, so I'll see you later, have a nice day.
All of us along this route from K down the street and about 3/4 of the way up that would be the adjoining neighbors that would have to agree, all said no.
I had told them I will not sign this option agreement with that gag order in place. And his comeback finally after some time was, well, if it will allow you to maintain some dignity, then we'll take it out. And it wasn't until someone had said to me, do you realize what you're fighting for isn't going to be here anymore? I wanted to fight for the property, and it was that statement that really made me realize she's right, this is going to be totally different.
When a mine is finally closed, it has to be reclaimed. More than once, I was told it would become farmland.
Ideally, when this company leaves, it's going to look much like it does right now, except it might be minus some trees. I think most of your land, if not all of it, is going to be put back into a farming type agricultural based commodity when the mines are finished.
Soil is a living thing. The soil, when stored, the overburden, is going to not be very fertile when it basically is ready to be used. When I hear the claim that sand mines would be reclaimed for agricultural land, I find it impossible to believe.
Most of my friends are farmers, and they've worked their whole lives for the land that they have to support their job, which is farming. And the last thing they want to see is this good farmland being torn up into a mine.
In the country, people have learned to get along. Frack sand money changes that.
When they came in with the annual meeting, the lawyer was right there. They had a script. They denied it, but they all sat with the paper, reading from it. And they wanted to nominate him as the chairman. And we're going like, you can't do that because he's not a resident. This group that came in tried to get rid of the village powers because then that would make our ordinance invalid. And it would make all of our ordinances invalid, which we're saying, do you understand when you do this? Now you've taken away our driveway permit. You've taken away our stop signs. You've taken away any ordinance that we have. And they said, yeah, fine. We don't want them. We don't want it. This ordinance was going to regulate them, and they did not want any regulations. So they wanted to get rid of, so rather than try to get rid of the ordinance, they were going to get rid of everything.
Like a lot of small towns, Tunnel City in Greenfield Township has a tight budget.
We're neighbors to Fort McCoy, and way back in the 20s or 30s, that took part of our township away. So we just don't have a lot of revenue. And it was even getting tougher to, as it is to everybody, maintaining your roads. This is going to be a little shot in the arm for our township. We're going to get payment on every ton of sand that goes out of here for the next 30 to 40 years. But I feel with this mining company coming here, it's going to be 30 to 40 jobs, if not more. And I've had people talk to me from other townships a long ways away from here and hearing about this. And they said, you know what it's like to get one job in your area? And we're looking at 30 to 40, so, and I'm sure it won't please everybody.
In nearby Buffalo County, investors wanted to open a frac sand loading facility. At the public hearing, the green shirts stood out.
Other threatening comments or actions will be not tolerated. Good evening. I'm in favor of this. Coming from a young family, I feel that a sand mine is going to offer me more freedom. I live in the center of the town of Montana. I live on the busiest intersection in town of Montana. I'm used to truck traffic, milk trucks, green trucks, feed trucks. You see it every day. I don't know where you people get your numbers with your 150 trucks and 500 trucks coming through downtown, and it's not like they're going to be here all at once.
Glacier Sands does not have a track record. They were established in August of 2011. My family has been in Buffalo County since 1853. If you want to contact me, you will find me at S3225 County Road M, Fountain City, Wisconsin, not at the UPS in Chippewa Falls in a drop box.
We also were approached to sell our land. We met with Ryan, sitting over here, several times, and I questioned him my concerns, and it's interesting that when I got to the water point, that no one's really addressing here is our water. As an agriculture teacher, water is our #1 resource. And I asked, what do you wash that sand with? And in my mind, I already knew. It's a floxuant, and it's called polyacromide. And he said, it's just water. From the owner of the company, he told me it is just water. And I said, well, I swore. I said, no, it's not. And then I told him what I knew it was, and immediately his answer was, I don't really know. I leave that up to the experts.
I moved here 17 years ago because of what Fountain City could offer me and my family. The beauty, the school, everything that we have right now. And I really don't want that to be taken away from me. I believe in clean air and just giving my kids a good life. And what I see right now is trucks and the sand in the air. It's not going to do anything good for our kids.
This affects everybody in this community. If you open the door to them and just the, for now, 500 trucks, you're going to open a Pandora's box and they're going to just run right over everybody in this county, do what they want. Money talks. To prove this industrial monstrosity in our agricultural area so close to our school and homes is absurd and very irresponsible. Deny it!
Marianne Dillman, followed by Carl Neldler.
The Great River Road, a scenic byway along the Mississippi, attracts visitors from all over the country. Some of them stay and start their own businesses.
We're at a point in our lives where we were ready for a change. The last child had left the nest, so to speak. And I came down here on a visit with a friend of mine who had been motorcycling this road for 30 years. And literally within 6 months of that initial trip to Alma, we had quit our job and sold our house, bought a restaurant in Alma, Wisconsin, and that was 12 years ago.
I have the Blue Door Inn, a hotel on Main Street in Alma. Well, I retired and decided that I wanted to live on a river and I wanted an old house to restore, and so I started that project 4 years ago. And I love the Mississippi. I love Alma, Wisconsin, and how small it is. It's historic. The bluffs, the backwaters, the birds. You know, we just have so many wonderful things here.
I think because of my gallery, I've brought in other outside people. They've seen how nice the improvements were, and I led them to believe that this was a beautiful place to live, which it is. And other places have gotten renovated and businesses have moved in.
My concern is the impact on the Wisconsin Great River Road. Many people come to this area for tourism and they travel the road. The destination is the road. It's not coming to Alma or coming to Buffalo County. It's to travel the road. And if right in the very heart of the Great River Road is sand mining and trucking going on, where tourists have to deal with thousands of semi-tractor trailer trucks on a 2-lane road, they're not going to want to come.
To say that you're going to benefit the economy in an area like Stockholm or Pepin Township along the river here by the frac sand industry is a total myth. The data, the statistics just don't support it at all. A much greater loss in our area particularly of actual jobs, maybe not full-time year-round, but the net loss overall in terms of full-time equivalents is far greater than the gain from truck driver jobs. And I say truck driver jobs because there aren't any retail places in our townships along my district where people can buy food, clothing, household appliances. That money goes somewhere else.
They're holding this promise out of jobs. And I think that's what divides the community. You have a group of people that say we need the jobs, and you have a group of people saying please don't destroy the natural resources that we have here. And that puts those two groups at odds with each other. When a member of the Board of Adjustment says, how many jobs? And he says 30. How many local? Well, I don't know. It's their business model not to give that information out. The faster they can get it in with the less information documented behind it, the easier it is to walk away when it's time to walk away.
We know that the frac sand business and hydraulic fracturing is an industry that's all over the world, everybody. We've got the best scientists in China, in Russia, in India, and I think probably in the energy business in the US, trying to figure out a way to get cheaper and cheaper proppants. They're gonna find that cheaper way, cheaper than frac sand, where they can manufacture proppants near the site of where they're gonna be used. This is going to change the whole area of western Wisconsin. Instead of having a lot of mining companies, we'll have a lot of holes in the ground, no jobs, it'll all go away.
My partner and I have talked about moving. If any more plants get proposed in our area, we will put our place up for sale. We will leave. I don't know where we'll go.
Because of the shortage of railroading facilities on the Wisconsin side of the river, frac sand is being trucked over the Mississippi into Winona, Minnesota. In the past, when the bridge was closed for repairs, it caused serious problems.
We're currently not having any mining in our county, but there's mining taking place across the river in counties in Wisconsin. There are other counties in Minnesota that are doing it, and all that sand is coming to Winona because it's a huge rail and barge transportation hub. So a bunch of these facilities have popped up because this huge volume of sand is coming in because it needs to be washed and dried and cleaned of a lot of impurities before it can be used in the fracking process. So a lot of that happens here in Winona, and then it's shipped out. There are hundreds and hundreds of people that cross that bridge to go to work every day. And it's the only bridge in I don't know how many miles, 20 miles. So if you live across the river in Wisconsin and come to downtown Winona to work every day, instead of a 5-minute commute, you now had a 45-minute commute every day. There were people taking rowboats across the river to work every day because they couldn't get across the bridge. So when the bridge shuts down, a lot of stuff shuts down in Winona.
Which side are you on, Winona? Whose side are you on? Whose side are we on? The bridge can't be ignored anymore! The bridge can't be ignored anymore! Our health can't be ignored anymore! Our health can't be ignored anymore! The moratorium can't be ignored anymore! We will be here! Monday, June 4th! Monday, June 4th!
The frac sand business is changing small towns. Some changes are on the outside, and some are deeper.
I don't want to make light of the fact of people being here all their life and looking outside and remembering that tree that's 70 years old and it's gone now. I understand that. I've been here all my life too. This has happened in this community before. It's happened 100 years ago with the railroad. It happened 70 years ago with the federal highway. But the people in the area, everybody survived.
Actually had quite an effect on the townspeople, just the animosity it causes between neighbors, and everyone seems to pick one side of the fence or the other because there doesn't seem to be a middle road at this point. So it pits people against each other.
It was a very pleasant community until the sand mining came through, and that has divided the community completely in half. It's destroyed friendships, it's destroyed relationships. People are afraid to talk to each other because they don't know what side they're on or who they're giving the information to. Tension is so bad that even going to the dump can be stressful. We have most of us don't have garbage cans, raccoons, bears, cougars. We run to the dump on Saturday mornings, and my husband came back last Saturday and said, people aren't getting, sometimes you're waiting in line. And it used to be people roll down their windows, stand outside, wait their turn, talk. Everybody's windows are rolled up. Nobody waves at anybody. Nobody talks to anybody. It's totally divided the community. Totally.
And prior to the sand mining, if somebody called up and says, hey, I'm in a bind, I need help, you're all about, sure, I can, no problem. Anymore, it's like, well, why do I want to help you when you just soon stab my beliefs in the back and what we've stood up for? It certainly does. It makes it tough. I mean, I'm trying not to let that get in the way because it's not the right thing to do, but the thought goes through your head.
In Maiden Rock, an old sand mine has new owners and is aggressively expanding into the bluffs that surround the town. Some feel that the sand company might even be controlling their government. On this hot summer evening, the village board met to fire its planning commission chairman. 2 had already been fired this year.
It being 6 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. Proper notification has been made in the usual places in a timely manner. Okay, so
could I just make a comment about the process?
No, you're. I
don't think I've ever attended a meeting where the people aren't allowed to speak.
Until now. Order will prevail.
I think the fact that we've had 3 different chair people of our plan commission in a little over a year, it's just been like musical chairs. I don't think it's good for our process. And we have a community that is strongly divided on this subject.
The democracy is the people.
Okay, Dave. Thank you, and please keep your words to yourself.
Why did you even have a public meeting?
It's required by law.
Yeah, so you could sit there and ignore everybody who was there for 2 hours?
Can I have one other thing to put forward, Gary? Gary.
I can't take this shit anymore.
Anyone who wants to come and record what happens in these hearings can. The law protects that, so long as they're not being disruptive to the meeting. No one can stop them.
You're free to record the meeting. We have a videotape of this meeting, and there's no objection to that. So I'm not sure quite what you're trying to indicate. We're talking about the official record, and that leads to conflicts if we have both a recording and minutes, and the two are not in line.
I object.
Carol!
I object.
Oh, then go to the street to object. We are not.
I have been at meetings at which things have transpired, and what's come up in the official minutes has not been at all true to what took place.
You're tearing this village apart. People are not friends with each other. It's either you're this side or that side. You're not in the middle ground. You don't care about the people that don't think just like you. It's beautiful and everything else, but I've moved here because they had such great people and such great building communities. And people that are building communities and caring about each other make it a win-win situation for everybody. They do not tear apart each other and form sides.
Across the region, I heard stories about sand money and corruption, cynicism and suspicion.
They bought the land. That's about approximately 1,200 acres of land they purchased. And they paid about 3 times the value of the land. Uniman bought from private owners. I believe it's 12 different families that was affected, that were purchased and bought out. They've moved 9 homes as of now. There's 2 more to go. They compensated the people well, let's put it that way.
They can pretty much do what they want to in Greenfield. The town board signed a developer's agreement that made it so they never have to follow any future ordinances in the township.
None?
None.
In a place where many put a high value on freedom, sand companies have taken advantage of the lack of regulation.
So did we think we needed to be zoned? No. Farmer Jones, Farmer Smith, here's our fence. We're going to shake hands. You take care of your end, I'll take care of my end. It's worked for a couple hundred years. So did we need zoning at that time? No. Did any of us anticipate we needed zoning to protect us from somebody from the outside? No. Who's going to move out here? Unfortunately, we now understand why we probably should have had some zoning in place.
What you need to have is a partnership between the community that you're going to come in and take their resources and the mining company. You've got to have a partnership between the people and the industry. That's been totally lacking in Wisconsin. No partnership. Come in, grab the land, pay as little as you want, flip it, make as much money as you want, and leave. A partnership between business and a community is not foreign to this country. That's what's built this country.
Uniman walked in here, knocked on people's doors, said, I'm going to make you a millionaire. Do you want to be a millionaire? All you got to do is move out, and you can't tell anybody about it. And that's what happened. I don't blame those people for selling, because that's a lot of money. But I just can't believe that they're going to leave the other people sitting on our thumbs. I can't believe they're going to buy land on 3 sides of a neighborhood and not buy the neighborhood.
Everything you see?
We did what we had to do to get here. We both went to school, we both got good jobs. You know, we lived in a trailer house, we saved our money, and now we pay a mortgage that we wonder if we'll ever see any of that money back when we go to sell. We have it for sale now. It's been for sale since the sand mining company said they didn't want to buy here. So we're just hoping that somebody comes along and doesn't mind a mine in their front, side, and backyard.
Farming is a gamble, but you stick with it and you invest in your land, and you know, that's what a neighbor said, Vicki, you can farm the same land over and over, but once you mine it, it's gone.
18 months ago, when I started this film, people around here weren't talking about frac sand. The boom was in Wisconsin, not Minnesota. Now, that's changing. Just down the street from my house, they're loading open rail cars as fast as they can.
Walking by the river, by the sky-high piles of sand. Asked the hot hair-wearing man about his dream, his master plan. It's not just piles of sand, he said, the big piles of gold. They're gonna feed some miles, move idle hands, movers of the totem pole. They'll even grease some palms if you wanna play some ball in the big leagues with the big boys smoking fat cigars. Just loosen your belt, son. Got the fracks and blues. 3 states to the east, further down the rabbit hole. The water's on fire, the cost is higher while Mother Earth stands alone. They stick it with the needle, they sodomize her soil, pollute the blood of your unborn child in the name of a dollar bill. But hey, at least you got a job and a fist to fight the war. With those Persians and the terror and your empty tanks. Yeah, you scared yet? Got the fracks and blues. Got the fracks and blues. Raise my hand, a couple questions on my mind. They sent trade secrets, jigsaw puzzles, more wool for my eyes. I followed all the greed and the puppets take for sale. It's all about money, it's only sunny on their side of Capitol Hill. I can see your children with an empty glass and empty tears. Maybe you would too if you take those dollar signs out of your eyes. Come on, man. Got the fracks and blues. Got the fracks and blues. Got the fracks and blues.